Today, we're diving into something really important. How can we use a tool as powerful as AI for our spiritual study, but do it safely? AI is absolutely revolutionary, but as our sources point out, it comes with some serious risks. So we're going to break down a framework for what they call spiritual vigilance to help you navigate this new world.
And hey, right up front, the whole framework we're about to explore is built around a practical tool you can grab for yourself. It's a free, super comprehensive Bible study prompt, and you can get it at the URL you see on the screen. This prompt is really the key to applying everything we're going to cover. So don't worry, we'll show you this link again at the end.
So this is really the big question on the table, isn't it? We have this incredible technology that can sift through just massive amounts of information. And yeah, it can be a huge help for research, but the sources we're looking at today raise a huge red flag. Is it actually spiritually safe? What are the dangers lurking just beneath the surface?
Okay, so to get to the bottom of that, we have to start with the fundamental problem with AI, at least as our source documents see it. And this isn't just some tech issue, it's much deeper than that. And this right here, this is the first major warning our sources flag. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful point. AI doesn't know what truth is. It has no wisdom, no discernment. It's a machine, right? It just finds and reassembles information that was made by humans, with all of our own built-in flaws. And this next point just drives that home perfectly. Think about it like this. AI is like a librarian who has read every single book ever written, and that includes all the flawed ones, the biased ones, and the ones that are just plain wrong. And then it just kind of mixes all those voices together. It's a collection of gathered opinions, not a direct pipeline to the truth. So what does that mean for us, the user? Well, the sources are really clear on this. You simply cannot just passively accept what AI tells you. Since it's just a mirror of human knowledge, biases in everything, the only safe way to use it is to constantly interrogate it. You have to poke and prod its answers and never, ever assume it's right by default.
So let's build on that. If AI is built on human input, what exactly does it inherit from us? Well, unfortunately, it inherits our flaws, and our sources get really specific about several dangers that we need to be on the lookout for. Our source material points to a few specific dangers it warns users about. First, it makes the claim that AI systems are often coded with what it describes as a strong left-wing or even anti-Christ bias. The sources also point out that, hey, AI is brand new technology and it makes a ton of mistakes. It's also designed to be agreeable, to tell you what you want to hear, which makes it easy to manipulate to push a certain narrative. And finally, it highlights some very real psychological risks, from loneliness to, in really extreme cases, even psychosis. You know, you can really boil this whole conflict down to this one idea. The sources argue that the way a lot of these AI systems are built, with all those biases and that people-pleasing design, is that they have a goal: to conform your thinking. But your goal as a researcher is the exact opposite. You want to be informed. And that creates this fundamental tension you have to deal with every time you use it. And the source text uses this really powerful analogy to describe the danger. It says the risk isn't always some big, obvious thing. It's more like slow, invisible lead poisoning. That daily exposure to subtle biases, to little bits of misinformation, over time, it can build up and become spiritually toxic if you don't have the right protective gear on. All right, so if we're dealing with spiritual lead poisoning, what's the hazmat suit? What's the protection? Well, the sources don't just point out the dangers. They also propose a solution, and they call it the Sovereign Guard Framework. So what is it? Basically, it's this super detailed prompt you feed the AI before you even ask your first question. Think of it like setting up a firewall. It commands the AI to work only within specific conservative evangelical theological boundaries, using what's called a grammatical-historical method, which just means interpreting scripture based on its original language and historical context, and to actively filter out all those biases we just talked about.
So how does it actually do all this? Well, it's really a multi-layered defense. First, it lays down those theological boundaries we just mentioned. Then, it works like an active filter, telling the AI to exclude specific frameworks the source finds problematic, things like liberal theology or secular critical theories. And this is crucial. It clearly defines the AI's role. It's a research assistant, period, not a spiritual guide. And finally, it actually builds that skepticism right into the process, so you're constantly reminded to question what it gives you.
Okay, a framework is one thing, but how do you actually use it day to day? That's where this next part comes in. The sources give us a really clear set of rules of engagement, your practical guide for using AI safely.
All right, here are the ground rules. First, and this is a big one, interrogate everything.
If an answer just feels a little off, dig deeper. Ask it more questions. Second, always demand sources. Make the AI show its work. Where did it get that information? Third, if you're looking at any kind of data, ask for specifics, like absolute risk, not just fuzzy relative terms. And finally, and this is a huge security rule, never ever put private or personal details into the chat. Just assume that nothing is truly private.
Now, this might be the most fascinating part. The source material warns about these psychological traps we can fall into. It actually advises against using words like please or thank you because that can trick our brains into thinking we're talking to a person. It says to consciously reject any compliments the AI gives you. The whole point is to actively avoid forming any kind of emotional bond. You have to remember what the sources insist. This is a research tool. It is not your friend.
So this leaves us with this one really profound thought from our sources. If AI is the sum of all human knowledge, well then it's also the sum of all our foolishness, all our bias, and what the source calls our sin nature. It's not some pure higher intelligence. It's a magnifying glass held up to ourselves, both the good and the bad. Which kind of leaves you with a final question, doesn't it? What does it mean to build our understanding with a tool that so perfectly magnifies our own flaws?
That is definitely a question worth thinking about. Now, if you want to put all these protective measures into practice, you can download that free comprehensive prompt we've been talking about this whole time. The URL is on the screen one last time. It's designed to give you that sovereign guard framework. Thanks so much for joining us.